Guess who's back? It's not Shady, you'll have to put up with me instead. I'm Alex Nymera Hapgood, this time taking over the host duties from the venerable Alex Mast Swan. And of course, we're also joined by Sam Initialize Hapgood, my brother-in-arms, and in casting duties, we have Crest Gaming Act versus Rascal Jesters as this next game 7 of week 3, but of course, only our third game of coverage. Rascal Jesters coming off of a win versus Axes, now up against a 3-1 team near the top of the standings in the Blue Boys Crest Gaming Act. First thing I want to bring over to you guys is, of course, this mid lane matchup. We saw Pink do some good things in terms of the picks later into the game, but his laning phase was a little bit weak. What do you think Rascal Jester can do to prop up Pink versus Arya in this mid lane, guys?
Okay, so we saw the answer that's been working probably since the champion has existed. His name is Malzahar. You might have seen it in 2017 World Finals versus this guy called Faker, who is
Never heard of him.
Potentially the best mid laner in the world, and it earned this other guy crown a world championship. So it definitely works, and I think potentially just indexing into getting this guy on a safe pick that is effective, even if he is getting slammed in lane, probably not a bad idea.
I have a counterpoint. I don't think you can. This is Arya. I don't think there's a safe space for you, especially if you're Pink. You can pick like a Karma and he will still find a way to abuse you. No, don't care. Arya will still find the way in my eyes.
So eyes on Arya from CGA. My always Arya is my favorite player in the LJL. However, in this particular matchup, CGA versus Rascal Jesters, we saw last split. Of course, we saw that fantastic playoff series around them in round 1, but Rascal Jesters very often out-team fought CGA towards the later stages of the game, particularly around that very memorable Blitzcrank ultimate to seal the game in favor of them in their second regular season game in spring. Lexi, going over to you because you have very fond memories of this game yourself. What do you think the chances are that Rascal Jesters do outfight CGA in this game? What do they have to do to secure that kind of late game victory?
A high probability. CGA are just like the team fight dive mechanic gods, and they will go in. Especially if Arya or Nap will go in, the whole team will follow them to the end, unless Grendel has sadly gotten picked off slightly beforehand. I also don't think Rascal Jester have the edge that they had in the drafting phase. They're missing 2 of their key members who are normally the architects that you can do these crazy drafts around where you can pick the mid that can also be played in the jungle and support. You don't have that flexibility of your mid and support anymore. I think this kind of cool dynamic thing that the Jesters used to offer us isn't quite there, and CJ are gonna pounce on the opportunity.
And Sam, I'd like to extend the same question to you, actually, just in terms of how do you think these late games are going to play out? Do you think Rascal Jesters can even get there because CGA snowballs so hard?
It'll be the question. We've seen it before. We saw it in the last game. And part of it is that the Jesters are a fairly smart team, and some of the most important players are very smart. Art, Cog, Hatcher, Metcher know how and when to find fights in those sort of mid and late game scenarios, and that might give them an option. Don't get me wrong, CGA come into this pretty favored, but there are some weaknesses for CGA around their jungle and support. And jungle in particular is something that Hatchemetcher could maybe exploit.
So eyes on the jungle. Also worth noting, Unica, that jungler for CGA, is the only player on CGA thus far to reprise a champion pick. He has 2 games of Olaf, 2 games of Set. Every other player on CGA has played a unique champion every single game. So something for you guys to watch out for in the draft phase as I'm going off getting my cup of tea. I think it's really interesting because Rascal Jester are a team that we have attributed that tag of, the mad scientists, the people that are willing to pick out anything. I know it's a question you've asked earlier in the day, Lexi, to us when you were doing the hosting, but are there any picks which you would like to see coming out of these teams? Is this just something more of the same, or are we just going to see more picks again?
Personally, I'd like to see Pink almost taking a leaf out of Ace's book, playing these far more supportive utility mid laners who have high priority and like really high impact on the game. It's just more of you don't notice them, similar to supports in a lot of ways. When they come up big, half the time that you can't notice it, and that's because they're doing a good job. If they can do for Pink what Ace is doing for V3, I could see a very good future for Rascal Jester.
So a good future for Rascal Jester may be on the cards. Another thing which might be on the cards, though, is that CGA showed us last week that they do have something cooked up to deal with that pesky Ezreal pick. Of course, we're still on patch 10.12, meaning that Ezreal Yuumi is a combo which can be played by these teams. CGA versus the Hawks picked out an Ashe into that. They're on the red side. They saw the Ezreal first pick, picked the Ashe into them, and then denied that Yuumi pick, knowing that that pick potential was so hard. And that Bard came out with them as well. Do you think this affects side choice and particularly the bans coming into this game, Sam?
I think it potentially does, in that Ezreal has kind of been seen as A, very strong, B, something that Art is very good at, and C, blind pickable. If what CGA is saying is that you cannot blind pick this versus us, it does change the draft quite a lot, and I do think the Jesters are going to be pretty reliant on getting Art on something he can hard carry on and has agency on. If the CGA are kind of limiting that champion,
I think we might have just lost Sam towards the end of that, although it could
Totally
just
fine.
be me instant.
No, you're
Totally
here.
fine. And I am still here,
I'm
so
back.
that's nice. You can still hear me. And Sam's back. Would you mind just finishing off your point there? Because we lost the back half of that.
unfortunate, sad. Basically, all I was saying was that Art wants to have something with agency on. He wants something blind pickable. If you are narrowing that champion pool, it is not good news for the Jesters.
And speaking of narrowing that champion pool for the Jesters, of course, we do need to talk about Pink and Nagi being put in for Ninja and Vivid once again, because they were some of the guys bringing out the largest champion pool picks. In fact, actually, with Ninja being subbed out, not being able to travel due to stuff, he had the #1 champion pool in terms of its size in the entirety of the LJL. Arya has now overtaken him with 2 new picks with Kassadin and Syndra. But how do you think just losing this champion pool flexibility has affected the Jesters, Lexi?
Huge. It's huge. It's what I loved watching the Jesters for. They basically were the team that I could start yelling out random champions, and they could legitimately play them. And it was like, oh god, they are that flexible. And they were the team that forced DFM into like forcing to play mega smart when they had all the power picks, and the Jesters were like, that's just where we wanted you back in the spring season, and they forced them to do the double TP crazy plays from Ebby and everything else, who was playing the Akali, who we all know my opinion on Akalis.
Yes, we do.
But like the Jesters have that, but they don't have that now, and I think that's really devastating for like one huge axis of their game. As you said, Nymara, they're smart. I think some of that smartness has been pulled out from them.
Okay,
Can I jump in on that?
Absolutely. Go for it. We have time. We have plenty. We're Mr. Incredible. I got time.
Oh,
wonderful. So I just wanted to say, like, I kind of want to say it's not just the champion pool width, it's the stylistic width that has been lost. Ninja could play a lot of different styles. He could play the Ormid, he could play the Varus mid, he could play random Nautilus mid. Like, he did things like, he could definitely play things like a LeBlanc and that kind of thing. He had, the guy made his name on Zed, right? That has gone as well, because Pink cannot be a point of pressure for the Jesters as far as we've seen. And it's that stylistic narrowing as much as it is the champion pool narrowing that's been a real loss for that squad.
Okay, so looking at this stylistic narrowing, and the thing is though, like I as much as Rascal Jester are a very varied team, potentially Crest Gaming Act are the opposite of that. They're actually quite a narrow team. In fact, we saw them lose against V3, currently our undefeated team, and the LJL sat at 4-0 before we cover their games.
From our knowledge. From our knowledge.
So we will be covering them earlier. Of course, Dr. No, he's someone that's got in contact with us and is streaming the first 4 games because he's on a different time zone to us and has the liberty of doing that live. So thank you, Dr. No, for doing that. It's very important for the English coverage of the LJL. But one of the comments that we had about CGA, particularly versus V3, is that what happens if you play against a Deathball squad with a very large amount of support, someone like a Karma or a Lulu, and you don't have a way to beat them in a 5v5? CGA still go for that fight. They don't like to split the map. What do you think CGA have to do to rectify this? Do they just pick something to fight the 5v5, or do they have to try and expand their repertoire of playstyle?
So for me, a big point was in that champ select. And CJ in my eyes are always the most face up. We'll pick a champion, you know exactly where it's going. We're not going to try and be fancy. Rascal Jesters were the opposite. Now Rascal Jester don't have that edge taken out from them. I don't think their individual skill is going to be individual skill from CJ personally. So that's where I'm going. I think the edge that they had has been taken from them due to outside interference, and now they're kind of forced into this because I just don't think some of the players on CGA are so good. So good. Look at
Yeah,
Nap.
yeah, absolutely.
Nap is so good. And Kokog's
Yeah.
not going to get the same advantage. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And it's worth noting, Cog has played some weird stuff this split too. He's played Hecarim, he's played Malphite, he's played Ornn, he's played Wukong, he's had 4 individual champion picks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Hecarim that was a game. That was definitely
something.
a game.
Definitely was.
Yeah. I think Nap arguably was our best Wukong so far as well, and
think
their
you're
victory
right
versus
with
Paz
that.
Axis.
maybe out there as well.
Yeah.
Paz had another good game as well. Yeah, so we've had some good Wukongs in the LJL. What do you reckon of what do you reckon of this top lane matchup, Sam? Have you got any particular opinions on it?
So I think for me, Nap is potentially the best weak side top player in the league. He's really good at playing smart weak side. Like, he's not going to be a primary carry. He's unlikely to be a secondary carry, but he will be that tertiary carry when you need him to be, and he'll be that like primary front, like things like his Renekton in the last time when he outplayed
That
the
was so
1v3
good.
tower dive versus the Hawks was really clutch stuff, and that's the kind of thing I rate Nap for. I think Cog tends to be a slightly better playmaker, and we saw it in the last game, the way he was using the Call of the Forge Gods and kind of really punishing Hoglet in particular for the squishiness of Fiddlesticks.
Yeah.
Gives me some strength, some confidence for Cog in team fights, perhaps.
I want to throw a stat at you. I want to throw 2 stats at you guys, by the way. I'm looking at the damage percentage of players on these teams, and you can tell there might be some roles where there might be a discrepancy. Do you want to have a guess at between both teams? There are 2 roles where between these, one player has double the damage percentage of the enemy team's player. Which roles do you think they are?
Mid.
That might be the mid and AD carry. I don't
I'm
know why
going to go
thinking
mid and
that.
top, actually. I'm going to go mid and top. I think, yeah.
It's mid and jungle.
Oh, I knew it! I
So-
knew that!
No, really?
Yeah, that
What?
makes sense.
Buddy.
So Hatchemetcha has a 20% damage share of his team.
that's
Unica has
insane.
9%.
Oh, God.
No.
And that is playing Olaf
Oh,
and
dear.
Set, both very high brawling early game champions.
Dear God.
The story's better in mid lane, though. We've talked about Pink. He's played a couple of choice games so far, and this is before the game earlier today, so that might alter those stats again. He has an 18% damage share of his team, which for a mid lane, you're expecting 20-something, 22, 25, maybe something like that.
Yeah, so
You're certainly not expecting 36%, which is what Ardia's got right now.
Oh, damn.
wow.
Yeah.
Is there anything
So-
safe to give him?
I mean, they could get. I'm just trying to think of the next pick. They could make him play something that functionally does no damage and see what he does.
I mean, it depends. Okay, so if Rascal Jester on blue side, they have to ban 3 mid laners, and even then, Arya still has 5 more in his back pocket.
My worry is if Rascal Jester on blue side and they have to first pick something like Ezreal, don't they just get Ashe picked into them?
Maybe.
Oh,
But I will also say
yeah.
that, Art could outplay it as well. Like, you need to hit that Ashe arrow, and if you don't, maybe Ezreal can turn it around. Like, and Art is the guy who would take that skill check, I think.
Yeah, potentially.
But I feel like that's just. The thing is, we saw the Ashe ultimate just be so relevant in just general team fights as well. Like, it was just so good. It was just so good, and also Grendel supporting with that
On the-
Bard seemed so on point. Like, this almost felt like a combo they've been practicing. Granted, he might have just been playing a lot of Bard, and that was partly
We
why.
haven't seen we've seen Gang play Bard and we've seen
have.
Grendel. I don't think we've seen anyone else in the LGL so far.
Not
Not as well,
currently, and it's a bit surprising. That's really a pick I would expect more. Really, like it's
We've
just
seen-
so
we've
good.
seen- Yep. We've seen 3 Bard picks so far. Let me just check who they're all played by. 2 games by Gang, 1 game by Grendel. So that
Okay.
was
Sure.
Grendel. So actually, DFM versus the Hawks and versus Rascal Jester. So against 2 of our lower tier teams right now. But then also CJ played it versus the Hawks as well. So that's what we got on Bard so far.
They did.
So pick Bard, beat the Hawks.
Do the thing.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
do the thing.
I think everyone's starting to understand how you beat the Hawks. You just pick Bard.
And Bard is actually 3-0. He won every single one of his
Yeah.
games so far.
Yeah.
Doing pretty well.
Can I throw a bit of a curveball out as well?
Sure, go for it.
Who was the spring split AD carry player who was always playing Ashe?
Well, I would say it was Art. Art was the guy that picked it before it was even meta.
yeah.
He was picking Varus
So
before
I
it was
wonder-
meta.
Indeed. So I wonder whether maybe we might see actually Art could just pick up the Ashe. He certainly knows how to play it, and if that's a takeaway anyway, then maybe.
But then you're just handing over a Felios, so that just seems a pretty
Sure.
bad deal.
It's a risk. It's a big risk. Or you ban Aphelios and leave the Ezreal up, right?
But then you're giving more
I
picks
know.
over to the Arya. That just seems awful.
Yeah. So in spring, Art had 3 Ashe picks. 3 Ashe picks. Although his total champion pool was 8 champions. No, 7 champions. He played a game with Jinx, played a game. He only played 1 Misfortune game, and the rest of the league was really high on that. He even switched to mid lane to play a Lucian game once.
Oh, yes.
Oh god, yeah.
I believe that was against DFM. I'm trying to remember, but I believe it was.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
It didn't go all that well in the end.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it was pretty weak sauce. But I mean, it was cool to see it though come out.
Absolutely, yeah. No, we like to see the innovation, and that's 2 things which we have seen from these teams. Because CJ, like I was saying, they were typecast, but to see them go towards these different champions is really fun for them to do some stuff as well. I'm still waiting for Cog's Kennen though on the side of the Jesters. I think that'd be really fun to see.
I would definitely will have to see it at some point. It's just they've got to draft a team fight centric comp like J4 or Gragas in the jungle, or even a Rek'Sai. They've got to get that kind of pick potential out as well. Bard works rather well into those kind of teams, actually.
I think he does, because Bard sets up really well for those kind of team fights, right? Because you set up the... it also means that you can kind of... You don't have to commit to it. Whereas if you land a Nautilus hook, you kind of have to fight. Or like if you're diving in with a Malphite ult, you're in the middle of the team. If you just throw a Bard ult and you don't like it, you can just choose to back up.
Exactly.
You lose the cooldown, but you don't lose your life. That's it. Yeah, that's fine. Potentially you force out some defensive cooldowns as well.
Yeah, that's the worst
That's
case
my
scenario.
experience of it. Exactly. We are still on pause, guys. So we're just going to be riffing a bit more, much like we will do on our podcast. Going to shout that out again. We will be on episode 21 on Thursday. We've been going at it for a while, guys.
Legal
We
drinking
have.
age. In America.
In the
Legal-
States.
what, in America.
We hit
Most
Japanese
America.
legal drinking age is the last one, which is the more important one. We went over that.
Oh, that's 20,
what it
right?
is.
20?
It is 20 in Japan. That's exactly.
Huh, it's alright. We're doing pretty okay for ourselves. So, if you both had breakfast today, are you keeping yourselves healthy and happy? That's what we've been reduced to.
I had breakfast while I was producer, so I have
lovely.
kept myself fed. I've had some cereal and I've had a coffee, so I'm keeping myself going.
Yeah. Yes,
No comment. Keep initialize.
I've had myself 2 donuts. So, you know, I'll be hopefully as fed as Art was last game by the end of this. I'll go get some breakfast, and yeah. Art is teaching me to eat well. Get yourself fed.
That's one way. Feed your casters. Feed your casters.
Feed your casters.
mean,
There you go.
That does potentially speak up for a win condition for Rascal Jesters if they can
What,
get
eat
there.
donuts during the game?
No, specifically if they can get Art fed. Like CGA's game plan is basically being, can we skirmish? Yes, wonderful. Let's do it and we'll win.
Yeah. I think the difference between CGA and Axis in the last game, though, is that if the lead comes out of mid lane, they do know how to win from that, whereas Axis is trying to show they can't.
Yeah, that's very true, actually.
I know I cut you off halfway through a point, but it doesn't even matter because actually we've bought enough time. We've done it. The podcast is done. It's dusted. We're into Champion Select. Have fun, guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Nymera. It's a pleasure to be casting with you again, sir. How are you doing, Master One?
I'm doing all right, sir. I'm doing all right. Can't complain. What about yourself?
Doing all right, but let's move away from the Cockney accent and
Oh,
instead
all
talk about
right,
the CGA
all right.
versus Rascal Jesters that we got to go on about. Of course, it is CGA taking to the Rift for the first time this week in Game 7. They are taking on the blue side this time around, so it will be Nap in the top lane, Unica in the jungle, Arya, Man, Myth, Messianic figure in the mid lane, and of course Gango and Grendel as the bot lane.
Yeah, and over for the Rascal Jester, we've got Cog in the top lane, Hachimecha in the jungle, Pink in that mid lane, Art as their bot carry, and Nagi as their support. And we've had some bans coming quick and fast here.
We have, and it's a few choice AD carry ones that make me smile. Draven and Varus away from Gango, the Aphelios away from Art. First pick Raves for Unica, though, which is a bit of a surprise to me.
A little bit. It does basically force them into the spot that they didn't have to just first pick an AD carry. But with this Yuumi hover, it's pretty obvious that an Ezreal's probably going to get locked in here, especially with Aphelios being banned. Yuumi isn't great with Kindred for obvious reasons of not being able to throw her away when she's already on top of you. Not so good. So it'll be interesting what CGA are planning to go with here.
I really like what the Jesters did there. They've locked in the Yuumi, and they've picked up the Ornn, and they're basically saying like, well, we're not going to lock in the Ezreal straight away. So if you want to pick the Ashe, you'll be doing it now, and we can pick something else in response. So they've picked up the Ornn for Kog'Kog, which was really great in the last game. It is worth pointing out, though, that Kalista was up and available, and Gango is our premier bot lane Kalista player in the league.
Yeah, Kalista or Nautilus has been a combo we have seen many times. Obviously, Nautilus is a pretty favorable lane into a lot of different as the hover comes in and locked in. Oh, it's like we've seen the script before.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that we're gonna have to see
Grendel from himself.
It's sometimes like you just see it enough times, as is the Ezreal that you had already hinted towards earlier. We've just had in the reveal this time of jungle versus top, and I mean an Ornn isn't particularly an exciting top lane to get all flustered around. It's going to be interesting though to see what we get regarding the next few bans.
This will be the 8th time Gango is picking up Kalista this season. He's definitely indexed a lot toward it. We've been over how Grendel can be a little bit suspect before with his positioning. Fate's Call allows him to play aggressively and be less punished for it. It will mean the Ezreal Yuumi is finally locked in for Rascal Jester, as they were waiting out the potential Ashe counter. And this is where the draft has left us.
It really is. We've got the bans coming in through that first. That is Azir. That Malzahar that you were mentioning earlier is a way to basically put Pink into a protection spot. Can't happen because obviously the ban has come through. I would not be surprised to potentially see a Zoe ban also coming out here for Arya. They've already banned that LeBlanc, and CGA were already aggressively going through. Oh, it's like, again, it's like we've seen the script before. I can't, I should really stop leaking it before it happens. Don't do that for the team fights though, Initialize. That won't be great.
Indeed. It wouldn't be fantastic. And I have to say as well, like, there is something to be said for taking Pink off some of those self-sufficient mids. I mean, you can pick Galio still, but there are options for Arya to punish that Galio. That things like the Corki come to mind. Hatchamacha, though, thinking of reprising his Lisa in the last game, did a very good job about finding some picks to get up ahead, even as as Hogler on that Fiddlesticks. That's a bit of an early lead just due to that farming pattern of the Fiddle.
Yeah, farming paddle comes through, but we're getting to see that Lee Sin for Hatchamecha, so it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to position this last pick, which is going to be the mid lane, deciding that they basically want to try and give Pink the easiest time of their life. It makes sense as the jungle pickup isn't going to have too much of a difference. Problem is that Cassiopeia, again, I believe a unique pickup for Arya, at least for this summer split. I believe it was played once in spring, if my memory's recalling, and Nap on this Wukong, reprising potentially the best Wukong player so far that we've seen. Definitely going to be interesting to see that against the Ornn. Won't win the early lane. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah, baby. Guess who is Cata again? It will be. It is in a lot of seasons and a lot of team is picked one. Know what he can do with this champion. Pulled out Magic versus FM wasn't enough, but CGA aren't looking to take Katarina left.
No, they really shouldn't be putting her too lightly. I do want to just double check that, sir, you are restricting the amount of lag that you could have as you're coming through a little bit all over the place, like you're a robot that's been stuck on loop a little bit, as you're having a bit of ooh-woo, and then you're stuttering a bit, but hopefully you can fix that.
Not a good sign.
No, it's definitely not a good sign at all. I would totally agree with that, but hopefully that's something you are able to fix.
I believe I have, but we'll have a quick look at something here.
Okay, well, as we've got these teams
Take it over for a second. I'll just make sure things are connected as they should.
Absolutely. The big one that's going to be coming through is Arya is actually going to be playing the Kalista, and we're going to be seeing Gango on the Cassiopeia. That was the big one that we didn't have an opportunity to really cover, but we've got it currently on our screen. Definitely offers some unique perspective into what we can expect from this mid lane matchup. I'm honestly not too sure. I guess I would take it into the same sense that you look at a lane of Kalista in the top lane, you just kind of look in the same way as if it was for the mid lane. I honestly don't think I've ever seen Kalista mid in a professional game of League of Legends. guessing you're still trying to find your internet, so I will continue going. There's
I
a...
have returned.
You have returned. Hello, sir. Welcome back.
I have returned. It seems to me that for whatever reason, my Ethernet... Yeah, for whatever reason, my Ethernet has no longer stopped working for whatever reason. So I've had to switch to Wi-Fi. But it's done. My computer's done that automatically. But I sadly don't really have a chance to go and fix that. So maybe I'll have a look between games. But alas, that is the way things will be for now. We'll have a look a little later. But yes, my power line kit has failed me. It has disconnected for no apparent reason overnight. And as a result, I'm on Wi-Fi for now. So we'll have to hope that holds up. But it means we're on to Rift. Thank you for taking over for a little bit there, Mass One.
Pleasure, sir.
We're straight into a pause.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, classic LJL pause, obviously. Classic pause that comes through. I mean, this Kalista mid. Let's talk about that, because this is the big one that I'm super interested in talking with you, sir. I don't think I've ever seen a Kalista mid game in professional play. Can you? Even in LPL, everywhere, I don't recall anyone ever talking about this on any podcast or anything. It's such a unique place to be. Do you think that was potentially because they think they got counterpicked with this Cassiopeia? They were like, oh, maybe the Cass isn't going to be so good in the mid lane. I'm just interested in your thoughts, sir.
Well, we've seen it once in the LCK from Chovy, but he also played AP Gragas mid today and won with it. So that kind of comes potentially as no surprise. The solo lane power of this champion can't be denied. We know what Kalista can do. Normally we see it in the top lane where you can run people down, but it's going to be an interesting one to see. I find it an interesting choice. It puts the Cassiopeia bot, which, again, I hadn't really expected. The miasma is great versus Ezreal. You can stop him jumping. So, I see. I just don't know whether Gango has that much time on the Cassiopeia. We'll have to wait and see.
Okay, so we're getting a few interesting things. Apparently, Chovy, of course, one of LS's favorite players at the moment over in the LCK. Chovy played it once mid this split. Okay, so legit current meta, apparently versus Faker. But they did lose. They did lose in the spring playoffs. So it's current, sort of, but lost still.
Well, we've seen some solo lane from it, basically, is the idea. Mid lane is not the normal choice. Into Katarina, it's an interesting one. I suspect the Halo Blades does allow you some burst. And Katarina doesn't really get all that great of trading options until she has level 6 where she has kill threat. So levels 1 through 5 could be a bit sad for Pink, but we'll have to wait and see.
It's going to be interesting. I don't recall Gango being a huge mage bot lane player, so it will be important to see and kind of benchmark this. Obviously, though, Arya is going to abuse as if it was Ebby on set in the top lane. We're going to see some aggressive zoning and pushing, and Pink's going to have maybe a sad time for these early few levels, I would guess.
It's also worth pointing out that once that level 6 comes through for the Katarina, there is room for the ultimate to do a lot of work. The Grievous Wounds on the Death Lotus can be really powerful versus what is effectively a lifesteal champion build for the Kalista. Also want to point out with the jungles at the minute, we're watching vertical jungling set up on opposite sides of the map. It'll be Hatchamecha taking the top side while Unica gets to clear out the bot side of the jungle. Does mean the Ezreal Yuumi is going to be forced into tower for a while.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty... Well, the thing is, you're not too surprised with seeing an Ezreal Yuumi lane pushed a little bit back in the earlier few levels and then slowly getting more priority once it hits that level 6, because there is that threat that it can do something. I'm just interested to see how this lane with Pink goes. We saw that previous game where Pink got to play Katarina and got a double kill on the jungle mid duo of Detonation Focus Me. It's just phenomenal, really, to see Pink on this comfort champion, and I'm interested in why CGA thought they could get away with doing this. Do you happen to have any insight into maybe why they decided to do this?
Well, if you look at mid lane, maybe you can see, because at the minute it's 22 CS to 8, and Katarina has not been able to leave under her tower with vertical jungling as well. The bot lane's been under tower. That's just a lot of lane priority early on. The only place it's shoving in is the AWP.
Sam, are you in a tunnel at the moment?
I don't think so. I think it just could be my internet connection being fairly poor.
Oh, okay. The old internet connection. Well, we'll do our best to keep going as best and tried and true as the British people of keep calm and carry on, obviously, and all that good stuff. Blah, blah, blah. While we continue talking anyway, as we're still in kind of a lull state, as this game won't have anything particularly exciting happening. Interesting to note, Pink has been destroyed on farm. Just absolutely destroyed, whereas Gango is having a rather fun time as it's his first game. He did play a Talia bot lane in spring, so this is another mage from him, but I think at the moment Gango's being pretty good as Unica's thinking about something and then thinks against it. He didn't feel comfortable, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was a bit of a rough one there. Wasn't going to find all that much. Sadly, this is, however, coming up to a bit of an engage, though, because Grendel finds a good hook out of the bush. There is the heal burned, and Art and Nagi desperately trying to run, and they find their way to minions, do get the arcane shift away, but here comes Arya. Hachimecha around, though, will ward off the dive. What is this Kalista going to do, though? Not on vision, is going to have to find the way back to the mid lane. That ward has spotted Arya. Some damage over the wall. Arya in trouble. There comes the exhaust, though. Look where Unica is, trying to do as much damage to get Arya. Desperately trying to get away. Won't survive him first, but over to Art. This is a disaster for CGA. Here comes the flash in and the teleport as well. Unica can't run either. Hachimecha gets that one, and it's 2 on the board out of nowhere for Rascal Jesters. Kong flashing for the searing charge, won't quite find it, but gets a knock up anyway, and that forces a flash out of Grendel. Can he survive? Does not. Art gets that one. Pink under tower, trying to get Gango, and Gango goes down as well. It's a double at the end again for Art, and it will be 4 for none at the end of that fight.
That was just insanely well played from all members of Rascal Jester. They continued collapsing on each other at every single point that they had. That was amazingly played. Art playing phenomenally, repeating of their previous game versus Axis. I'm so looking forward to watching this back. Okay, so we immediately see Hachimecha and Art and crew Nagi obviously chilling on that. Yumi going on, aggressively going for Arya. And then they get to just pick off Unica pretty free because he's so far up. A beautiful teleport coming from Cog. Obviously, Wukong not 6, not being able to stop that happening. Quick zoom on in time as, beautiful knock up from Cog, forcing the flash out from Grendel. And then obviously Art just is able to get that kill. And then they were able to juggle it through Pink as well with the resets on the Shimpo. Like, so well played. Nagi and Art and Hachimecha 4 100 kill participation, 3 assists for Pink, and that's huge. It doesn't matter what your gold lead, it doesn't matter what your CS lead if you don't have time to catch up, really.
It really doesn't, and that is problematic, unfortunately, and we're going to see some difficulties here as I'm actually having some slight computer difficulty. My USB thing seemed to stop working briefly, but I think I should be kind of back now.
Hello. You're out of the tunnel, sir. Hello.
That's good news. So for whatever reason, my computer was not recognizing my mic input briefly, which was a bit stressful. But I think we're okay and back now. So hello. That was a little bit stressful. Really great fight. That was looking so good. I was so excited, and apparently I was casting it through a tunnel, which was telling you, and I know production was telling me, but I couldn't do anything about it because I sadly
fight.
It was in the middle of the team fight, and despite having everything plugged in, it just wasn't recognizing it. It was really irritating, but alas, there we go.
Absolutely. Well, I turned you up as best I could over on the production side, so hopefully it will be as legible as all as it seems like CJ want to think about a dive. Arya's coming up, but Vision, they are aware, the Jesters, they know what's up, and currently an early lead to the Jesters. Slightly unexpected, if you asked me in that champ select. I was like, well, it's not going to happen.
Well, it is. It was Arya out to a decent CS lead, but this bot lane has now just completely collapsed. And also the fact that the Katarina, despite having a rough early lane, has got 3 assists. That is a terrifying space to be in.
Oh, it is. That's a lot of gold. Katarina is literally looking for that gunblade, and then that's a huge item, power spike, and more assists equal more gold onto this Katarina. That gunblade can't come in soon enough for Pink, and when he gets that, it's going to be a lot more kill potential onto Arya. Exhaust be damned, Pink will find it.
Yeah, that's problematic, and you could see what CJ were trying to do. They tried to do what V3 did to them last week.
Yes.
Split the map, dive bot, but the Jesters absolutely crushed it in response. And it's onto the right people. It's onto Elise in early. It's onto Art early, who's got a tier and a Sheen very, very early into this game. It's onto assists onto a Katarina who was struggling in lane. That's all fantastic news for the Jesters. CGA, though, are going to start up the Herald, though, as it spawns, so maybe that can be an option for them to try and find something in this early game. Hachimecha, though, has found his way into a top bush off vision. Could be trouble here as well.
Could be trouble. This is against Art, and Art is now level 8, so it's pretty hard to dive a Wukong, especially with his ultimate up. Being able to double knock up basically saves you, I feel, in most spots that's going to come up against an Ornn Lee Sin, unless you go a bit too far and using your dash a bit aggressively while it potentially can't come back down on CD. Offers options for the Jesters to potentially find something.
For sure, dude. It's definitely an interesting space to be in, and we're looking at a interesting sort of space of the game as we come up to 10 minutes, and we kind of already touched on where the items are, but because of how much gold went into the right places, Lee Sin and Ezreal are way ahead of their kind of opponents at this point.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the big one on that is Art was able to get a tier in Sheen already. That's before 10 minutes into this game. He's going to be stacking that tier so aggressively, which is exactly what you want to do as an Ezreal. It means everything just gets to evolve faster. And, well, oh my god, we've already got the Manamune coming out. Or is that...
Oh, dear.
That's
just gone 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's really not good if you're on the side of CGA. Gango, you're playing Cass. Cassiopeia needs... 35 minutes, 40 minutes to really hit her huge mega death kind of power spike. Art's going to hit it in almost minute 15 if how this game's going.
Well, we saw what he did with 3 early kills the last time. There's a bit of contesting going around the scuttle, though, and Hachimecha will be chased away from it. I apologize. And with a minute or so to go till this Ocean Drake, that'll be nice vision secured for CGA. Check out the AI bot at 10 minutes. It's a pretty significant advantage here to Rascal Jesters, who've come out to a very good gold lead early on.
Yeah, that's a 20% difference, basically, you can call it, in favor of the Jesters. It's really pretty solid. But I can't really think of any other way around it. It is interesting if we compare it to that Twitter vote that we did see at the beginning. Heavy favorite from the crowd, that is CGA. Maybe that was before, well, obviously that was before you get to see the drafts coming out, which always can change a huge amount. We've had games where we're heavily favoring one team, and then you see the drafts and you're like, well, actually I want to give it to the other team, and I still can't believe the Jester's got to get pink on his Katarina, especially after what happened against DFM. Is that not enough of a statement, or does Arya just not care and wants to play an AD carry?
Well, they banned the Malzahar over the Katarina, and the Katarina comes through, and Pink looks like a different player on this champion. He really does. CGA did get a lot of plates on the bot side there. That's good news for them. It brings the gold lead back to about 1,000, which is a better space for them. But Art and Nagi hanging around looking to halt some backs here and just be a bit irritating, especially because it'll stop CGA from resetting in the way they want around this Ocean Drake. Unica will spot the start by Hachimecha, though, I think. Or did he just miss that?
I think they missed it.
I think he missed it.
Yeah, he didn't have the eyes above him. So
and he's gone back now anyway, and Hachimecha not feeling comfortable enough. He's going to run away and have to restart it. Arya's going to be around. That actually gives time for people to come back and reset. Unica will be back around for this, but Pink, Nagi are here and ready to go. Katarina is level 10. That is a good space for her to start abusing people with her ultimate. Kind of on her way to Azonia's first item, which makes a lot of sense versus the Kalista mid that she's been laning against, and also versus this Grave, the Wukong. A lot of burst here, being able to Zonya some of it. I can kind of see the smarts in that.
Yeah, I don't think they'll actually fully complete the Zonya. I think they're partly just getting that item for the additional attack damage and the defense that comes in. It'll be a late one, probably the Zonya. It'll probably be a second item, maybe third item completion. It's pretty standard. I expect though the Gunblade has to be coming in as the main first item that will be used. We have seen a Cyclone used in the top lane, which isn't gonna, well, it does mean Cog can basically teleport right in front of Nap, and Nap's only response is to join him at that teleportation. But that cooldown is already a quarter through, so shouldn't be so bad, depending on how the resets work, as we are seeing a bit of a change. Top lane going bot lane going top lane. Bit of a mix-up for the Jesters now.
Yeah, it is. And you kind of saw the Cyclone there, partly to try and clear out the wave, get Coco a bit forward, well, get Nap out of the lane earlier so we go for the reset. And it didn't really earn them all that much apart from a brief knock-up onto a very tanky Ornn.
Yeah.
But we're going to see that Herald number 2 spawn in about a minute, which could be the next point of pressure. Unica hunting for camps, but doesn't find or much. But Gango here, potentially about to pick up the first turret, and does so. That's the CGA getting the first turret again. They've been doing that 75% of games thus far this split, which, granted, has only been a sample size of 4, but that is good news for CGA, at least in terms of their early pressure in games.
75% of the time they get first turret, 75% they win the game. I don't think that's a terrible metric to use. If they get the turret, they get the game. And currently, if you had to give it to them, they might be a bit behind, but they could definitely find a way as, big team fight.
All right, they are. Grendel has been definitely caught very low there. Does have to flip a Pink trying to go in. There's the death load. It's not quite enough. It does escape the True Shot Burst, but the Ignite is coming down. I think Grendel does go down in the end to that Ignite, and Pink finds the pick before the Herald. It's 5-0 in the kills right now to the Jesters.
God, that was like on the last tick of Ignite. We saw Hatchemecha get away with it in the previous game against Axis in that same spot. Oh no, it was Coco getting away with it in that same spot. Not fortunate enough for Grendel and the members of CGA. Just a little bit of a tick over and done over. Oh my god, so much damage coming through from Nap.
All right, Hatchemecha does take a little bit of damage, but it's got a Zoomy on top of him. Here comes Cogcog. Call of the Forge God coming down as well. Now Nap's in trouble. Second Cyclone is there, but he's taken so very, very low and does go down to the Ornn. It will be traded back though. Cassio kills the Lee, but the fight continuing. Arya trading onto Art has got the exhaust down. That's a lot of shielding, a lot of healing. The Death Loaders once more time. Arya does not manage to get the kill, but Gango gets one onto Ornn. The low health parts of CGA mean that Pink can potentially get some stuff, but not enough. And Arya gets that kill onto the Katarina that was looking to clean up the backline.
3 for 1 in favor of CGA, and oh my god, Arya was able to just stand there for ages doing so many auto attacks. Gango also just basically was untouched for the whole fight. How can you not touch a Cassiopeia? Don't leave them alone in a team fight. They can kill everybody. But Art's thinking about it, but in my opinion, I think it's better to maybe not break test this and just be happy with the 1 kill and the amount of gold you're about to clean up in this top lane. Let's go over this recap together. So, a lot of damage coming through initially from Nap there.
Yeah, they kind of find Hatchemecha trying to get onto the blue buff, but it summons the teleports. And things look good, right? This is the Call of the Forge.
Yeah, this is great.
Well, that's a great start. But look at the backline. Look at Gango and Arya's health bars specifically. They just don't take any damage.
No, Gango is just like, oh no, Cogcog's onto me. I guess I'll run away. And then I'm going to run back in and get another 2 kills afterwards. And I'll kill Cogcog and I'll kill Hatchem. I've already killed Hatchemecha. I'll get Pink at the end as well. Oh my god.
Okay. We're going to have to take over because there was a massive fight and Unica is just taken out. Not quite, but there he goes down to Cogcog at the end of it. Now Nap is in the backline. It's a big cyclone. And that means the Katarina, the Yuumi, the Ezreal, all gone down on the back of a horrendously massive cyclone. But here we go as Arya chases on a little further. Hatchemecha desperately trying to escape, but just walks into Grendel, who went the other direction. Rift Herald summoned by Nap in mid lane as well. And that Wukong found the mother of all cyclones.
Oh my god. Gango, I am so looking forward to you having this in your repertoire of champions that you can pull out at so many different moments. On his Cassiopeia with Nap pulling out the double cyclone with Arya just doing infinite attack damage. They're playing so good and they're just not able to find the picks onto the carries. Unica is playing perfectly at the moment and getting into so many spots where the team just focus heavily on him. He's a Graves. He's happy to take all the damage. Watch how much damage Unica just basically takes. Takes the initial brunt here. He's at the front line. He knows he should die. Grendel does the exact same here. Comes down. Gango gets the lovely ultimate here. And then they just like, they put all this damage onto Unica. They don't care about Unica. They're now inting onto Unica. And then the whole team just gets to go on the back line and just go, well, double cyclone, duh. And then you got the tank of Cogcog who went all in to kill Unica. Gets absolutely nothing for it. And Hatchemecha, we know, perishes to Grendel at the end.
Go again. Take it away from now. Graves steals it.
Oh my.
Oh no.
Jeez.
Jesters, the last 3 minutes have been a disaster after disaster for this squad. It was a fabulous counter engage by Nap in the last team fight around the Herald. And with no kills but low health bars, Pink couldn't find resets. This time Unica comes in and steals the Drake. And he might be 0-2-3, but that's the kind of play that will leave Hachimecha feeling a little tilted.
Oh, it 100% will be. The big problem is that none of the members of CGA are really dying in all of these team fights until the very end. We saw only Unica actually perish in that previous team fight, and then we saw Hachimecha and Coco going so deep. Pink didn't even get an assist on that one, which meant he's not getting resets on his ultimate, which just continuously is punishing them over and over and over again, and the team just can't find to get the resets for this Katarina. We saw Pink being able to carry Rascal Jester, or almost carry Rascal Jester, should I say, in that first game against DFM. There was a chance. He's not getting that same opportunity, and at the moment, Art is, well, it's all on Art and Cog.
It is, and at the minute, Art, Cog, and Pink as well have just not been finding the fights they were earlier on to this game, and credit to Gango and to Aria for putting out good damage, but for me, Nap has been the star. His Cyclones have been impeccable, absolutely obliterating the squishy members of the Ezreal and the Katarina alike.
Yeah, it's going to do so much. We're going to see a Black Cleaver also coming in here for Graves, which is just going to really help the rest of the members of CGA. He's just going to become even more tankier. This comp is just going to get so kind of like weird tanky, going to be able to churn through members like Cog. Already, we're seeing Aria with that Blade of the Ruin King, which was finished up as the first item, and now obviously we're getting the Runan's Hurricane coming in. We're seeing the Morellos for Gango, so a bit of a sinner, but we can accept it, as currently he's playing phenomenally on his first game of professional Cassiopeia. I'm honestly very impressed.
Yeah, definitely pretty scary. Was that a blue buff still?
Almost.
No, Gango managed to pick it up. Got pretty damn close, though. And this game is now, I was about to say pretty even, but it's actually a 5,000 gold lead out of the last few minutes because of the 4 turrets that CGA have managed to pick up in the resulting fights that have gone on. That is a pretty scary space to be in. Nap now stepping forward, trying to get onto Art. There is the dash in that forces the flash out of the Ezreal. Could not afford to stand there and take a Cyclone to the face.
Yeah, that's really important. Ezreal normally never has to waste a flash like that. Well, quote, waste a flash. Obviously, it was far better to flash there than Arcane Shift, as you know you're going to guarantee getting over that, as the range difference between flash and his Arcane Shift is a little bit smaller on the Arcane Shift than a flash, so maybe it was just also reflexes and just default response of panic button, hit the D button, and flash away to safety. This is going to be a almost 5k, as you were saying, gold lead for CJ, and part of the reason that it's so good is they've kept themselves so close in that CS advantage, and objectives, like you said, 4 turrets, that's easy 5k gold.
It really is, and this Wukong's getting ready. Here comes Grendel flashing in, teleport in behind, but Pink's in the back line, but the Yuumi is just dead. Now Nap in the back, trying to find as much damage as he can. Hachimecha is gone down to the monkey as well. There's another hook, and that's going to be a 3rd. Watch as Pink desperately tries to run away, and it doesn't matter because Nap's Wukong will not be stopped. They're going to break into the inhibitors at only 22 minutes into the game.
That was phenomenal. Gango got a 2-man ult onto Art and Pink after Grendel lands a max laying dredge line onto him. Jeez! Oh my god, just all the members of CGA are saying, hey, let's have Unica basically act as bait for us, and then we'll just kill them over and over and over again. And it seems to be working.
To retreat, though, because you've got to be a little careful here as Cog trying to chase down the monkey, flashing in, misses the knock-up, though. There is a slow from the two.
He's doing a faker!
He's turning around, he's trying to get his way out, but there's a lot of healing, and wow, that's a lot of damage. Nap will finally go down. Wait, no, he's still alive just until the shutdown comes through for Ezreal. But that was some nice stop mechanics there from the Wukong. The bait and switch certainly worked wonders for a while. But all that time, there was a Baron taken down in the back end of that fight. Let's look at the replay again, dude.
Okay, so what happened here? Okay, so Grendel has been landing these stuns, these hooks like no tomorrow. Gets a real easy kill, and I don't know why that even happened. That questions need to be asked afterwards. Hachimecha sadly perishes as well, and look at that. Max dredge line. Oh, beautiful double ult stun, and then, well, they ulted once, and then Grendel passive gets through. Nap goes through and is able to do this. They knock on that turret and inhibitor, and yes, the Jesters are able to finally kill Nap. But at what cost was that? Well, it's as you hinted towards, they got the Baron. That's at 22 minutes, they have that Baron. They've already had the Baron for a little bit now, and this is looking scary if you are on the side of Rascal Jester. You were 4-0. You were 4-0 in their favor. You had an advantage. You had at least a 1 to 2k gold lead. You can do it all. Apparently not when it comes to the team fights, and if Pink can't get the resets, a lot of the team just kind of falls apart, it seems.
Does seem to be getting a little bit difficult, and just some of the fights where the resets weren't quite available really damned Rascal Jester around some of the Herald fights in particular. And, you know, currently it's a negative Baron Power play, but you've got to remember that mid lane inhibitor went down before the Baron was taken. So actually the Baron has kind of been an afterthought to the base already being broken.
Yeah, and I mean, Nap's going to get this bot turret if I expect anything else. Oh, actually, I forgot Nap died just as they got the Baron, so the Baroned up minions won't be coming through there. Sadly, as I was expecting the Baroned up minions to come through and just bash that turret down like there was no tomorrow, but 4v2 here. What they're going to do.
Randall's going around the back. He's just bringing down a ward, maybe looking for a little bit more. Pink is in mid lane and has no way to join this fight. He's been pinged out by CGA. They are going to just aggress onto this turret and take it down without much contest for the Jesters. They know they can't fight it. This game is looking very strongly in favor of CGA right now. At least the Jesters picked up a Cloud Drake to stop that stacking. And they do have good team fight, right? Like, if they can get the resets for Pink, he's got a Gunblade, he's got a Stopwatch, Art's got his way to 2.5 items. That's good news. But they've still got to play against this Wukong that's got Death Dance and Triforce. They've still got to play against this Kalista that's at 2.5 items. They've got to play against a Cassio at a similar point of strength. There is a lot to get through here, and CJ have been playing these mid-game fights so damn well.
They've been playing it beautifully. Unica has been in positions, as I've said, where he's acted as bait. It's kind of a weird way to think of it, but because you're playing a champion like Graves, who just has this built-in tankiness just built into their kit, using that and then saying, well, Graves doesn't die quickly. Graves, go into the middle, try and do as much to annoy the enemy team, and then let's see how this goes. Oh, well, apparently it works beautifully because Rascal Jester just keep going for him first before attacking Arya and Gango. At the same time that they're all trying to go onto Unica, Nap is in the background doing monkey business and apparently taking Apamen's name and being the ape himself and doing insane cyclones. Literally 2-3 mans minimum, it seems to be for Nap. Honestly, performing to MVP status. It's like you wouldn't be winning these fights for CGA if it wasn't for him. In my eyes.
Yeah, there has been a couple that have turned things around for absolute certainty. His Wukong has been pretty special ever since we've seen him bring it out. He just plays around the clone in particular so damn well. There are options for Rascal Jester. They do have an Ezreal at 3 items with a Yumi on top.
Big.
That is big. They have got a Katarina at 2.5 items as well. That is, or rather, an item and a half. That's pretty big. However, it's not like CGA don't have their own items, don't have their own spikes, and they have run of the map. Rascal Jester sort of having to be very careful where they walk, kind of walking in trepidatiously, looking to try and get down wards as Unica clears out one of the furthest they've got in, which is not even at the red buff. That's how far back Rascal Jester being pushed this far in the game.
Yeah, and the thing is, Rascal Jester's just kind of are at the mercy of CGA to take what they want to take. It's now ballooned into a 7k gold lead now in favor of Crest Gaming Act, and this is going to just be more and more of a problem that's just going to keep happening if Rascal Jesters can't find a pick. But what can they fight over? Dragon? Definitely not. They don't have the ability to really get into Dragon in a way that CGA will allow them. Well, then you say, well, maybe they have to go for a Baron steal. Again, they're not a lineup which really has that. Not playing a Misfortune, who has maybe the best chances of stealing Barons outside of any champion really out in the game, outside of some crazy Zac slingshots where you can go over the Baron pit.
Cho'Gath is probably the best in fairness.
Sure.
So...
But the Misfortune ults are normally what I'm zoning in on, because you can just throw it and worst case scenario you'll hit it or not. I'm really struggling to see outside of Hachimecha doing something godlike or Art landing an amazing ultimate as they want to fight.
Here's the depth charge. It's onto Art. He does Arcane Shift away and is currently safe. Cog time in the front line, but there's another hook. Nap now coming in, trying to get it onto Art. There's a big flash knockup, but Art's still alive, and it's turning around. It's a 1-for-1 thus far, but Pink is so damn low. Gango flashes in for a last. Twin Fangs sinks in and claims the Katarina's life. They are running away, running down. Hachimecha has got no health bar left. It is the Ezreal Yuumi against the world. Gango now very low, has been spotted out. They're hopping over the wall. That is a stop that has bought time. But that is a good hook. Grendel finds that. Still hopping away. Gets a hook back over. That's a shutdown. But wait, he's so damn low. And finally falls. CGA win the fight. They've got minions streaming in. And they will be able to claim this game. There's 20 seconds on most people for the Jesters. I think they've done it, Maswam.
I think they might have just done it as well. That was amazingly played. It doesn't seem like they can do it because the death timers are 6 and 5 on Kokog and Pink respectively. Yeah, they've got just a little bit enough time, but that was just phenomenally played. Grendel, you are playing out of your mind. Forgive me for all I have said before, for you are worthy of a lot of praise. And these hooks just came in so important, jumping in, jumping out. Nat paid for his sins of doing that, but basically got the team into a spot where they can actually position themselves around. Look at Arya on this mini-map. Basically starts pushing in this lane, runs around the back while the rest of the team are kind of positioning and poising, not quite sure what they're going to do. Aggressively flashes over to kill Hachimecha, and now it gets pulled by Grendel, and just again, Grendel, these hooks are impeccable. So much heart chance comes through, almost looks like Artscape was going to get something back, but it was in vain, and Nagi sadly perishes only moments after. Geez, CGA, you're hungry for a big win. I can tell you want to be at the top of this table.
It's getting pretty damn close. Art is trying. Like, he nearly carried that fight. He just didn't quite have enough.
Yes.
And it is where we're at. It's a difficult space. And we're going to see another engage, so we'll have to wait this one out. Art taken very, very low. There is no Yuumi, and he's just gone. That was all the damage. That might be all the hope left. Pink gets one. There are resets now for the Katarina, but she can't find enough, and Arya kills the Katarina. That will be a Kalista kill on the back end on the Ornn. It's just Nagi. It's just a Yuumi, and there will be no hope left for Rascal Jester. CGA will claim this game now.
They are hard pushing on this. Nagi all alone, and Yuumi is pretty good at doing not a lot. Dies on the fountain just like a Dota player. Very proud. I'll keep reprising that line until it's dead in the water. Phenomenal placement here by CGA across all members. Grendel, Gango, Arya, Unica, and Nap, all critical to that. GG. Well played to them. Now, Initialize. So much to unpack there. Would you not agree?
There absolutely is, but to unpack it, we will have to go and wait for the analysis desk. We'll be back in a few minutes, having gathered our thoughts.
We're back. We're back at it again after our 7th game here in the LJL Week 3. Of course, only our 3rd game of coverage, and this time it was CGA versus Rascal Jester. Of course, Rascal Jester playing with their substitutes, and one thing we had talked about coming into this game was Pink. Pink, maybe he was a point to exploit if he's not on his Katarina. CGA, though, did not choose to ban that Katarina, let him have it. How do you think this happened? What did you think of his Katarina initialize?
We kind of saw a good early start, right? Like, it was, well, relatively speaking, Aria's Kalista was punishing the Katarina in lane. They were looking to do what the V3 had done to CGA the other week. They were going to dive the bot. They were going to return the favor, and then Rascal Jester's turn it around. The Katarina comes out with 3 assists. Arc gets 3 kills. It's all looking good. The Katarina's online. And
then things went pretty massively wrong. One of the big reasons for this was a certain player in the top lane playing a champion, which of course he has played once before, reprising that Wukong Nap. Lexi, let's talk about Nap.
Nap is just such a good player on this Wukong. It gives me visions of Ebby on set. I just feel like the champion is just made for this player more than anything else, Nightmare. It just feels good, and he just played so good, right? He just played so good in so many spots. He was finding the picks, right? What was your favorite pick, Nightmare? What was your favorite pick?
I mean, I think that Nap's Wukong is something really special, and I really enjoyed watching it. However, there was a certain pick in the mid lane from Aria. He picked a Kalista mid. We don't see this very often. It wasn't lethality either. He went towards the Blade of the Ruined King. Since that, a couple of changes to solo lane Kalista have come through. However, Aria was pretty impressive, was he not, Sam?
He really was. He managed to do a lot of run sets, came out to a very early lead in the lane. It was a sloppy dive down the bot lane, which kind of concerned us, but there were a few fights where he was frankly untouched and was chasing people down in 1v1s within team fights where he just came out to massive leads, and we know why solo lane Kalista can be powerful. This is kind of proving it.
Speaking of being able to just kind of brawl around a lot of these fights and having these very messy moments within the game, this is something we were talking about before the game, about how CGA, they just love to outplay you. They love to scrap. Can you think of another team which would do this in the LJL? And do you actually think that CGA had the right idea about this game, or did they lock themselves into a win here, Lexi?
They lucked themselves 100%. I'm sorry, you don't draft this way and then kind of ups yourself into this. I honestly feel, watching the pick and ban phase, they banned Karma, Lulu, and then on second rotation, they banned another mid laner of Arts.
Malzahar.
Malzahar. They could have easily not banned Lulu or Karma, and just gone, all right, Aria, you're going to probably be able to kill... If he's on Lulu, you can probably kill him. If he's on Karma, just go everywhere else on the map. And then it should be fine. The Katarina was such a non-factor, and then it ended up... Sorry, you don't draft Kalista into a Katarina and go, oh yeah, that's a winning lane.
Yeah, and we'll get back to that Katarina a little bit. I just want to move on to the fact that actually on the side of Rascal Jester, we talked a fair bit about the individual players of CGA now, but let's talk about Art. The art of war, the art of all things good within this team. He looks a little bit stuck in elo hell. He's picked up the Ezreal twice. He's really trying. What did you think about this game, Sam?
Really good. Again, there was one fight, where he was basically 1v4. I know the Yuumi was there, but that's just massive summoner spell advantage. Let's be real. And the problem was that while he was putting out as much damage as he was against a lot of damage in a Kalista and a Cassiopeia, which does make things quite difficult. And 2, Nap's Wukong was laser targeted on that Ezreal, was kind of going clone, flash, cycloning every time it was up to get on top of that Ezreal and kind of punish it. So there were a few fights where Art was blown up before he could even do anything. That last fight was exactly that. Had no way to survive.
The last fight, the one around the Wolf Pit and Blue Buff as well, I really want to commend Grendel, actually. One particular moment, we saw that after Art jumps over the wall with Nagi in tow, trying to finish off Gango on the Cassiopeia. Grendel gets the hook after the Zhonya's is timed out to stop Art from finishing off that kill, and turns around a crazy low health bar advantage, and low amount of health bars on the side of CGA to turn around that game. Lexi, I know you mentioned it towards the end of the cast. Grendel, have we had this guy wrong all along, or is this a turnaround from him?
I mean, I'm willing to be proven wrong, and when a player shows up and performs, I'm always willing to put my hat off to them, and I have personally done jokey flamey onto Grendel since, well, since the beginning of spring, really, and he started doing accidental ints, where he just randomly face checks and doesn't do it, and sometimes will hit a pull, especially on Dredgeline, on Nautilus, and it ends up going into the middle of the team instead of hitting the team, which is always sometimes a bit more awkward. That final team fight honestly landed 3 critical hooks in a row onto the exact member they had to.
And he started with the great ult too.
It did, and it was so good. It was so good. And a quick idea of mine that just happened while you guys were talking there. I got an idea. If Axis or Rascal Jester want to get into the playoffs, Art needs to join Axis. Put Earnyan back in the top lane, and then you're definitely making playoffs with that team in my eyes. I just saying, crazy idea.
Well, end with some words of perhaps foresight, things to come. Who knows? The prophecy has been put down by Lexi. We have one more game left from our coverage today. It will be ending up on the big one. It's CGA versus Sengoku. You don't want to miss it, so don't go anywhere.
Pew pew.